perasha. For those of you that didn't get the notice, this Saturday night we are going to be changing the clocks. So just be mindful that you are going to lose an hour of sleep Saturday night, and make sure to adjust your clocks as necessary. But this week's parsha is a double parsha, which is fascinating. Vayakhel Pikudei. We can spend hours in preparing for this talk. But there are these ideas that you're familiar with, but they are definitely important to review and hear over and over again. Parsha begins with the construction of the tabernacle. And, the truth is that in many ways, we are all a microcosm of this particular sanctuary, because each of us has a divine spark inside of us. We all have an aspect of God inside of us. We all have the Spirit of God coursing through our veins. And therefore, if you are listening to this today, just be mindful that every aspect of the construction of this week's tabernacle is there to help us actualize, to realize our spiritual potential. Nothing is there just, let's talk about building this wall, and let's talk about building this curtain, and let's talk about the weaving. It's not there just to give you the details. It's there to help you understand your unique spiritual mission in this world. And it says, Vayakhel Moshe, that Moses erected the tabernacle. Our Chachamim tell us that each dedication of the tabernacle, right, the actual dedication of the tabernacle lasted for 7 days. Now, during these 7 days, for every single day, Moses would literally construct and dismantle this tabernacle every single day for 7 days. But it was only on the 8th day that he allowed it to stand. Now, we have to ask ourselves, why? Why did he have to do this? Let him just build it once and that's it. Zao, we're Dunsky. Right? Why bother going through this whole entire process of building and taking it down, putting it up, taking it down? Imagine you have to build a sukkah for 7 days and building it and taking it down, building and taking it down for 7 days. Why am I doing that? Do I have schizophrenia? What's going on? Why not just build it once and zeho? So you have to remember that, and what makes it so much more interesting, this question, is that Moses represents nitzchiyut, which means eternity. And therefore, everything that Moses does has to be forever. Everything that he's involved in is eternal. Okay, so Moses goes ahead and he constructs, he erects and dismantles this, tabernacle to teach you that we have the power of rebuilding ourselves, that we have within us the ability to learn from our failures and reinvent ourselves. He built this and he took it down to teach us that in order for us to reach our spiritual potential in this world, in order for us to achieve greatness, we should not be marred by our past and our failures, but instead recognize that failures can be converted into growth, that failures could be turned into growth, and that weaknesses can be transformed into strengths. And that's what life's challenges are for. The challenges that we go through in this world is just there for one thing. It's there for you to recognize that you can be great. Now, the Mishkan, the tabernacle, calls out the attention that every single time an activity that was carried out in the Mishkan, it's followed by the phrase, and God commanded Moses, right? You'll see that over and over again, reading the Parsha, and God commanded Moses. Now, if we as Jews truly live as Jews, you got to commit yourself to that which God commanded Moses. Our Torah is the perfect instruction manual, which addresses every single detail of our lives. And if we follow it, if we actually believe in it, it will insulate us from the horrific, corrosive influences of our society and culture. And this is how we've survived some of the most difficult. You think that living in America in 2020, 2021 is corrosive? It was worse in other times in history. But if the fact that you and I are here having this conversation means there is something that's buried in our DNA, something that is part and parcel of our faith that allows us to overcome, to survive the most destructive of societies, the worst parts of society. It's very much for me. Finding Torah is like finding an oasis in a hostile desert, or discovering an island in the midst of a turbulent sea. The tabernacle within ourselves assures Jewish survival and fulfillment. Now, I would argue that we are living in a menacing, uncertain, world. A world which our sages, our Chachamim, foretold and described as the Ikved the Mashiach, the footsteps of Mashiach. That's the period of time that precedes the Messianic period. Now, our Chachamim, our sages, predicted that during this time, all of our cherished icons would fail us, and the world would crumble before our very eyes. Nationally and internationally, are going to be plagued by political, economic chaos. Internally, families will become fragmented, and in place of serenity and love, you're going to find the turbulence and factionalism spreading everywhere. But if you and I are able to build a sanctuary within ourselves, we will be insulated from these plagues. And this is what the concluding words of this parasha teaches us, that the cloud of God would be on the tabernacle by day and the fire by night. This teaching, this pasuk, reminds us that if we make our lives into sanctuaries, the cloud of God will always protect us by day, and the fires of God by night, or the light of God, the fire of God, the light of the Torah will illuminate our darkness, so you never ever have to fear. This is what is meant by the Chachamim. The sages asked Rabbi Eliezer, the great sage, by the end of the destruction of the Second Temple. They asked him, Rebbe, what could one do to protect themselves from the great, tumult that's going to come about during the times of Mashiach, the Messianic era? You know what he said? He said, there's only two things you can do. One is Gemilat Chasadim, give, give, give. Love. Be a giver. Stop being a taker. Stop thinking about what you're going to take from the world around you, and start thinking about how you're going to give back to society. Start thinking about how you're going to make the world around you a better place. And the second thing he said is Torah. Gemilat Chasadim and Torah. Why? Torah is not just, go daven 3 times a day, go pray 3 times a day, shakol, this way and that way. That's not what Torah is. Torah is the instruction manual for life. It's there to help guide you morally. It's there to help you think about building family. It's there to help build society. It's there to be the objective standard of morality to help build a future for the world. Because without it, you have nutzos running around the place telling us there's some school today. I'm not sure if you saw this. There was an article in the paper today that there's some school in New York that decided that they don't want their kids in the school to talk about moms and dads, and that instead we want to use terms that are more inclusive. Hello, you're going to remove dads and moms from society because you want to be inclusive? What kind of is this? If we can't talk about parents, how are we raising our kids? They don't want there to be a hierarchy. They don't want to alienate other kids because of identity politics. It's insanity. It's crazy. And it's endless. This kind of thinking is endless. And I want you to know, it's going to get much worse. We're not even there yet. It's going to get much worse before it gets better. You, my friends, just hold on for the ride, because it's going to be a bumpy ride. But the Torah is so beautiful. The Torah says, I want you to build this sanctuary so that v'shachanti betocham, so that I can rest in you. How do you become godly? By living godly. The book is not just a book of stories. The book is not just a book of tales. It's not a book of legends. It's a book of moral principles, ideals. I've had the privilege of marrying many couples, and I often tell them that, the greatest secret to Jews historically has not been their wisdom. It's not their high-powered intellect. It's their unique understanding of the value and importance of building family. It's how we care for our spouses, how we care for our children. It's how we care for the people in our community. This is what Torah ultimately is. It's not just about bowing down to God and saying, oh, you're so great. That's a side part of it. But the ikar, the core of everything that we do as Jews, is all about what can we do to become people that love life, that love humanity, that want to give back in the most profound kind of way. I'm going to share one more idea with you. So it's at the end of the Parsha Vayakhel, sorry, Pikudei, where, no, but then the Vayakhel, where it says as follows. It says very eloquently, Parshat says that every man whose heart, Vayavo kol ish yasher nasa libo, every man whose heart inspired him came. V'kol asher nadva rucho to hiviu et trumat Hashem lamlechet ohel moed u'kol v'alato lebigdei hakodesh. Anyone whose spirit motivated him brought the portion of God to the work of the tent of meeting and all of its labor for the sacred vestments. Okay, yeah, the big day HaKodesh, all the sacred vestments. Now, in the previous readings of the Parshiot, we dealt with the construction of the tabernacle and all the different vessels, all the different furnishings that were inside of it. God commissioned these unique articles with very specific measurements, very specific designs, and the people were responsible for their execution. The people, the laymen, these people that were slaves. Now, the question is, how was it possible for a nation of slaves for hundreds of years? These people were stuck in bondage, who had no artisans among them, no education, no craft, no ability to create anything with intricate and magnificent, production in any way. All they were bricklayers. Where did they get the knowledge, the know-how, the experience? Who apprenticed them? Who taught them how to be? I don't know about you. I can't sculpt anything to save my life. I can't weave anything. But if you look at the actual items that were built in the tabernacle, they're beautiful. So where did they get these people that were such, perfect skillsmen? They were such high level of craftsmanship that was necessary, such a high level of education. Where did they get this information from? Now the answer is found in the parasha, in this pasuk. It says, "And every man whose heart inspired him came." This is a very important lesson in life. If we desire to fulfill the will of God, if your hearts burn with fervor for his sake, then God will remove all obstacles from your path. He will enable you to achieve the impossible, right? We have enormous power within ourselves. We're not even aware of the power that we have in ourselves. And that power is called faith. It's called emunah, right? Now, if we have faith in our Heavenly Father, God Avinu Shebashamayim, and we seek to fulfill His will, He will give you the ability, He will enable you to tap into the energies that we don't even know we possess. We need only accept upon ourselves to have a vision to carry out, and God will open up the doors. And this is another very powerful idea that I think about when I read this parasha. You think that the way people get things done is by getting an education, by having intelligence. It doesn't work that way. It works the other way. First, you have to be inspired. First, you have to want. First, there has to be a drive inside of you, a passion that says, I want to do this. And then the intellect comes, and then the ability to go ahead and find the intricacies and the talent and the skills necessary for necessary to complete your task comes later. It's not the other way around. You don't go to school first. First, you need the drive. First, you need to know why you're doing what you're doing. And with that drive, then comes everything else. The exact opposite. Go to school? No. First know what you want to go to school for. Then you'll see miracles happen. We saw this with Batya, right? The daughter of Paro, who went to the Nile to bathe. And she saw a basket with little baby Moshe was hidden inside it, and he was floating in the water. She attempts to save him, but her arms couldn't reach the basket. Nevertheless, she kept trying to extend her arms. And eventually, a miracle occurred, and she was able to go ahead and extend and bring the basket to shore. In the days of King Saul, Shaul HaMelech, right? He had this most malevolent Philistine giant named Goliath, who came to menace the Jewish people, right? And the people were frozen in terror. King Saul offered his personal armor to anyone who would battle this monster. But no one found the courage, the strength. No one thought they had the ability to overcome this ginormous beast of a man, except for King David, right? The young little shepherd who was short relative to Saul, who was very, very tall, very large. It was ludicrous to imagine that David could wear Saul's armor. It was impossible. There was no way it was happening. There's no way in which these individuals would go ahead and be able to overcome this giant monster of a human being. But a miracle happened. Once David put on this armor, oh, I don't know. I'm in the middle of giving a class. What? Sorry about that. King David miraculously puts on the armor and it fits him perfectly. You see, there are thousands of examples, but the teachings have to be absorbed. And that is, if your heart soars with faith and love of God, if you truly desire to serve God, miracles will take place and God will allow you to achieve that which only yesterday seemed impossible. So never forget, never feel intimidated, never ever feel afraid of doing anything. If you truly desire something, if you are truly passionate, God will give you the power and he'll allow you to sprout out wings so you could soar and have the energy to accomplish whatever it is that you set your minds to. In the opening verse, it says, Vayakhel Moshe. Sorry. In the opening verse, in her world, there's only her world. There is no other world. There is no other reality. There are no other people listening to anything. There is no other. These children are born so selfish. Do you see what's going on over here?
Yeah.
Do you see all these people up here listening to this class that you're interrupting? Do you want to say I'm sorry to them? You want to apologize?
Hi.
Hi. Apologize to them for interrupting my class? What? Do you know that I'm in a class?
Yes.
So then do you want to say I'm sorry? To
Two.
them, not to me. You're interrupting. Goodbye. Say I'm sorry.
Sorry.
Not to me.
See, I said
Say it to them. Say you're sorry. Go ahead.
sorry.
Okay, here, take this and leave. Goodbye. Sorry about that. All right. Anyway, so where was I? Pasha ends. The opening verse of Pasha Vayakhel, it says that Moshe assembled, right? Vayakhel, Kihila, bringing everyone together, right? Moses gathers the entire congregation of the Jewish people together. The word Vayakhel, right, gives us a little bit of pause. Usually, the text reads Vayomer Moshe, or Vaydaber. He speaks, he commands. However, the word Vayakhel was the rallying cry, right? Calling the people to stand up, right? The rallying cry the people used to fashion the golden calf, right? They needed to do a tikkun. Vayakhel, he gathered them to make the tikkun, to rectify all the grievous wrongs. The same word that was used by the nation to sin, to bring these people to do negative things, were used to do something powerfully positive. The word Vayakhel, right, tells us about the construction of the tabernacle. It is there to do one thing and one thing alone, to atone for the golden calf. This, my friends, is the essence of teshuvah, to convert your sins into mitzvot. To do that is to harness all the energies in the service of God. Now, if one was in the habit of speaking Lashon Hara and has an awakening, a moment of truth, that person should not retreat into silence, but rather now use the very same energy, the very same fervor, the very same desire, which that person formerly imagined others, would hearing negativity. Now instead, use it to convey words of Torah, use it towards words of chesed and kindness and blessing. Everything in this world has an opposite power. Don't be afraid of using them. This week's Pasha is all about understanding the inner workings of the self. If you don't have the ratzon to achieve greatness, you will never be great. If you don't have the ratzon, you don't have the desire to push yourself beyond your unique talents, you'll always remain a simple person. But if you want to live a life of glory, you want to live a life of greatness, remember that greatness resides within you. My question to you is, how far are you willing to go to bring that greatness into the world? if you're willing to push, to fight, if you're willing to jump into the mud and crawl through those trenches, I promise you at the other end, you will see glory and success waiting for you. Wishing you all a Shabbat Shalom Mevarach. You should be blessed with happiness, with health, with success, but most importantly, the recognition that everything you need to achieve your unique role of greatness is literally right there within you. The only question is your Ratzon there? Shabbat Shalom. You should be blessed to recognize the Ratzon is there and have the Ratzon and find the success. Thank you so much for listening, everybody. Bezrat Hashem, we'll see you all next week. Shabbat Shalom. Sending you all lots of love. Thank you for coming.
Thank you.
All
Shabbat
right,
Shalom.
pleasure.
Toda.